Ever get that feeling like you're completely drawn in by someone?
Yeah.
Almost like they have this uncanny ability to make you feel like you're the only person in the room, or they just get you, you know?
It's fascinating, isn't it? That
Yeah.
power of attraction and influence.
Well, today we're diving deep into the art of seduction.
And not just in the romantic sense.
Right,
When
exactly.
we say seduction, we're thinking bigger, broader.
Exactly. And, you, our listener, sent in some really interesting stuff.
A great collection of sources.
Yeah. And most of them were from Robert Greene's The Art of Seduction.
A classic for a reason. Full of insights.
So we're going to try to unpack all that, see what makes seduction tick, and how it works not just in love, but in life, in politics, everywhere.
It's about influence, persuasion,
Exactly, to lead astray. That's actually where the word seduction comes from.
and it's about those who've mastered it.
Right. Think Cleopatra, Marilyn Monroe.
Archetypes.
Yeah. The rake, the ideal lover, the dandy, so many more. We're going to meet them all and see what makes them so compelling.
So where do we start?
Well, let's start with the Siren, the ultimate fantasy weaver.
Ah, the Siren. Irresistible.
And Cleopatra, the queen of the Nile, is like the ultimate example. Now, she was beautiful, no doubt, but it was more than just her looks. She understood the power of spectacle, the grand entrance.
Like her meeting with Mark Antony.
Oh, yes, sailing down the Nile on a golden barge with purple sails and music and attendants dressed as nymphs. Talk about making an impression.
The carefully crafted image.
Totally. And it wasn't just a one-time thing. She kept that allure going, drawing men into her world, her realm of pleasure, like literally taking Caesar down the Nile, immersing him in her world.
And always keeping them guessing.
Unpredictable, that's the key.
1 minute she's close, the next she's distant. Never fully possessed.
Exactly. Always on her own terms. I mean, think about it. She was exiled at one point. This wasn't just about beauty. It was about power.
It's about creating a sense of adventure, novelty,
Constantly reinventing the fantasy.
keeping things fresh, unexpected.
And speaking of crafted images, how about Marilyn Monroe? What strikes you about her in relation to this Siren archetype?
It's incredible how much of her image was deliberate. I mean, she was attractive, sure, but she spent hours on her appearance, her makeup, that breathy voice, that walk,
It was all a performance.
a persona designed to captivate.
It's wild to think that early in her career, even though she was considered pretty, she wasn't seen as star material. It wasn't until she developed that blend of innocence and, well, sex appeal, that Mae West meets Little Bo Peep kind of vibe, that things took off.
It's the construction of an illusion.
Oh, and her voice.
Yeah.
She actually trained to lower it to get that husky, breathy tone. That became her signature.
It wasn't accidental. It was a carefully crafted fantasy, aimed at specific desires.
So it's not just about being beautiful, it's about embodying a fantasy.
Exactly. And the text hints that those who are perhaps too intellectual, who maybe neglect their sensual side, they're particularly susceptible to the siren's allure, the allure of pure pleasure.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've seen the power of the crafted fantasy. Now let's switch gears and look at a very different type of seducer. The rake.
The Rake, the embodiment of forbidden pleasure.
Dangerous and exciting.
Think Don Juan, Lord Byron, all about pushing boundaries.
And here's the thing, they're often dishonest. They're not looking for commitment, but they're still incredibly attractive. Why do you think that is?
Well, they offer something that society often denies, especially perhaps to women who might feel constrained by societal norms. The Rake offers an escape, a passionate affair, no strings attached.
Just pure desire.
And in that moment, the target feels desired, intensely, like they're the only one that matters.
Better to be abandoned than undesired by such a man.
Yeah.
That line from the book really stuck with me. It's like we crave that feeling of being wanted, even if it's fleeting.
Exactly. The Rake taps into those hidden desires, the ones the society tells us to repress, the need for liberation, even if it's just temporary.
And there's a gender dynamic at play here too, right? The book mentions that men are often more visually stimulated while women are more receptive to language.
It's about knowing how to use words to create desire.
And their reputation, their notoriety, that seems to add to their appeal, doesn't it? Like the Duke de Dacia bragging about his conquests.
Notoriety can fuel desire,
Makes you want to be part of the club.
but it's a dangerous game for the Rake. The book warns about the risk from other men who might not be so tolerant.
True. Okay, so from the thrill of the forbidden, let's move on to someone who's all about pleasing and affirming. The ideal lover.
The ideal lover. The master of mirroring and elevating the target's self-image.
Like a custom-made fantasy, just for you.
Think Casanova, adapting to each woman's desires, becoming their ideal
How do they pull that off?
by paying close attention, figuring out what's missing in the other person's life, what desires they have that haven't been fulfilled.
Like Madame de Pompadour and King Louis XV.
A classic example. Louis XV was bored. He craved novelty, and she provided that. But she also appealed to his deeper desires, his crushed ideals of greatness, as Greene puts it.
She made him feel important, seen.
It's about tapping into unrealized potential.
Like the artist who never got to create, the intellectual who was never heard.
The ideal lover makes you feel like you can still achieve those things, makes the sensual feel almost spiritual.
Like JFK and his New Frontier vision.
Exactly, tapping into a collective yearning for something more.
But there's a catch, right? You can't be too perfect.
Too much perfection can be off-putting, suspicious,
A little imperfection makes you more relatable.
or human.
Right. All right, let's shift gears again. Let's talk about the dandy, the one who stands out by embracing difference.
The dandy, the deliberate rebel, they challenge expectations, especially societal norms.
Like Beau Brummel, he revolutionized men's fashion.
His meticulous attention to detail, especially neckties, it became his signature.
It's amazing how something so small can become so iconic.
It's not just about being different. It's about doing it with style and subtlety.
Like Count d'Orsay and his unique take on fashion, he made it his own.
It becomes a point of reference, something others aspire to.
And it's not just clothes, is it? There's a whole attitude.
A certain impudence, nonchalance, not caring what others think.
They please by displeasing.
Exactly. Oscar Wilde, for example, his theatrical entrances, his wit, his cutting remarks, it was all part of his allure.
The book talks about mental transvestism in relation to the dandy, understanding and embodying qualities of the opposite sex.
Like Seishonigan in 11th century Japan. Fascinating, isn't it?
It is. It's like they tap into a wider range of desires.
Even someone like JFK, with his blend of masculinity and, I don't know, almost dandyish flair, I guess you could say.
But this kind of playing with gender norms, it can be risky.
Especially for men. It can provoke anxiety in those who are more rigid in their views.
Right. Okay, let's move on to an archetype that embraces a different kind of unconventionality. The natural.
The natural, the one who embodies childlike qualities.
That innocence, that sense of wonder.
The allure of a lost golden age. A simpler time.
Like Charlie Chaplin, the eternal child.
That vulnerability, that
Yeah.
naivete, it can be incredibly appealing, especially in a world that can feel so cynical.
And then there's the lost soul, right? Like Emma Crouch or Cora Pearl. They seem to yearn for a lost past.
And the damaged child, like James I, whose childlike behavior became a liability as he aged.
The key is adaptation, right?
Yeah.
It's good to be open, but naivete can be dangerous.
Especially in positions of power.
The book makes a good point about how people are more forgiving of genuine foolishness than of half-heartedness.
It's about authenticity. You have to commit to the role.
Okay, let's talk about the coquette, the master of keeping you at arm's length,
The coquette, all about distance and making others pursue.
withholding commitment,
The power of no.
like Ninon de l'Enclos. She refused to grant favors as a matter of obligation, and it only made her more desirable.
It creates a void. And humans hate a vacuum.
Especially an emotional one.
Exactly.
Mm.
The coquette uses ambiguity, mixed signals,
Keeps you guessing.
like Jiddu Krishnamurti.
Yeah.
He preached love, but kept his followers at a distance.
And of course, there's the classic coquette tactic of triangulation, making you jealous.
Making you compete for their attention.
But there's a difference between being a coquette and just being self-absorbed, right?
Absolutely. The coquette's narcissism is strategic. It's about generating desire in others.
All right, let's move on to the charmer, the one who makes you feel good about yourself.
The charmer, the master of flattery and attention.
They make you feel like you're the only one who matters.
D'Annunzio, for example. He was a master charmer.
It's all about making the other person feel good.
But subtly, sincerity is key.
They mirror your moods, appeal to your vanity.
Like Disraeli with Queen Victoria. He made her feel like the most intelligent woman in England.
They create a sense of ease, comfort, almost like a hypnotic trance.
And they used the power of surrender.
Yeah.
Letting the other person think they're in control.
Like Pamela Harriman. She was famous for making everyone feel special.
But charmers have to be careful with cynics. People who see through flattery.
Right. Okay, now let's talk about the charismatic, the one who inspires devotion.
The charismatic. The leader. The visionary. They inspire belief and loyalty.
Think Robespierre, Lenin. Evita Peron.
They have an aura, a spiritual, almost saintly quality.
It's their confidence, their vision.
They articulate something people want to believe in.
And interestingly, their contradictions can actually enhance their charisma,
Makes them more intriguing, harder to pin down.
like Mao Zedong or Peter the Great.
And they keep a certain distance.
Adds to the mystique,
The carefully orchestrated appearances, the theatricality,
like Charles de Gaulle.
or Elvis Presley tapping into something primal, unconscious.
The savior syndrome. They offer a solution to chaos.
But charisma can be a burden. It takes its toll.
Adaptability is key, and a bit of control. Finally, let's talk about the star, the object of fascination.
The star, the ultimate blend of reality and illusion.
Larger than life,
They bypass the rational mind, appealing to our dreams, our myths.
like a blank canvas onto which we project our desires.
Think about the power of film, creating these iconic
Well,
figures.
ambiguity is key, right?
Absolutely. Rudolph Valentino, Andy Warhol, open to interpretation.
Even small details can have a huge impact.
Veronica Lake's hair, JFK's smile,
And they have to keep that illusion going.
to stay in the spotlight,
But they're also surprisingly resilient to scandal.
like JFK
Uh.
or Errol Flynn.
It's like the public forgives them anything,
Maybe it's because they maintain a certain detachment from their own image.
like Marlene Dietrich. Okay, before we all go out and try to be these seductive archetypes, let's talk about what not to do, the anti-seducer.
The anti-seducer, the embodiment of what repels.
The vulgar, the dull, the clingy.
The pampered royal in reverse, the cheapskate.
It's important to avoid those pitfalls. So once you know what to avoid, how do you choose your target?
Look for vulnerability, responsiveness. Avoid those who seem closed off.
Trust your instincts.
And don't be fooled by superficial attempts to please.
Look deeper.
Sometimes the most unconventional targets can be the most receptive.
Now, when it comes to seduction, being direct isn't always the best approach, right? Let's talk about indirect seduction.
It's about patience. Gradual steps.
Creating a sense of intrigue.
Start with the bit of distance.
And cultivate those qualities that might appeal to your target.
Like Casanova and his subtle femininity. Or Tulia d'Aragona and her intellect.
The key is to create anticipation.
And what about mixed signals?
Powerful tool.
It keeps them guessing. Adds complexity.
The unexpected can be so alluring.
Like Madame Recamier and her shifting demeanor.
It hints at something more.
A promise of future pleasure.
Okay, last but not least, let's talk about creating a seductive presence. How do you do that?
First impressions matter. A lot.
Make it count.
Combine opposing qualities. Detachment and invitation.
Like the cat who plays with its prey.
Exactly. Show a glimpse of complexity.
Like Byron and his dark, brooding image.
It's about depth of field.
Creating a sense of mystery.
Drawing them in. Making them want to know more.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, explored all these fascinating archetypes and strategies, and it's clear that seduction is so much more than just physical attraction.
It's psychological. It's about understanding people's desires,
Yeah.
their vulnerability,
And crafting an image, a persona.
playing with perception.
So, listener, I hope you're thinking about how all this applies to your life,
Not just in romance, but in all your interactions.
in your work, your social life.
How can you use these insights to influence and persuade?
Which archetype resonates with you, and why?
What kind of seduction do you want to master?
Think about it.
And let us know.
See you next time.
Until then.